Hi, this is Luis Barajas, host of Wealth Gap Warriors. And Wealth Gap Warriors, I'll kind of read you a little bit what I've written about what our mission statement is here. And it's a podcast to introduce you to heroes. And today we have a real hero working in organizations that focus on helping eradicate financial injustice and economic disparity in underserved communities. And the hero that I'm talking about today is somebody I've gotten to know really well. His name is Felix Lugo, who is the executive director of High Schools Inc. Academy's Foundation. And we're going to have him on to have him share his backstory of who he is, how he grew up, how he's been inspired to work in this organization, and how he's making changes in Santa Ana, California. I've got a chance to visit the school. In fact, I did a previous video with the school trying to help raise funds for all the incredible work that they're doing. And I think that we'll put a link to that video so you can take a look at it. And here he is. Felix Lugo, thank you so much for showing up today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here.
No, it's my pleasure. And again, part of the podcast here is for people like you to inspire other executive directors of nonprofits or people working in these communities, helping underserved communities to fight that wealth gap or economic, disparity. Tell us a little bit about you and where you grew up, about your parents, your childhood, and kind of how you got to this point right now.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, I always like to start by saying if you hear an accent, I'm not from California. I'm from New York. Normally, I give myself away when I pronounce water. Right. So I grew up in the South Bronx. I always like to say down the block from J-Lo. But I grew up in the South Bronx, Puerto Rican family. Grew up with my grandmother, abuelita, since I was a young kid growing up. And, humble backgrounds. We didn't have much, but as the saying goes, we always made something out of nothing.
Right.
And throughout my life, I always was passionate about helping people, especially through my grandmother. Through my grandmother who didn't have a formal education, but she was the smartest lady I knew, always giving back to the community. In fact, she was a philanthropist. I didn't know what that was until today, years forward. She would always give toys to students in school back in Puerto Rico, always giving clothes out. In fact, she told me, if you don't pick up your room, I'm going to give your clothes away. That was the way she taught us. But growing up in New York City, it was, great upbringing. She instilled a lot of values in me, always helping people on the street. If you see a homeless person, don't look down on them, always help them. If anybody asks you for help them as well. And she was that person, she cooked food on the street. That's how she made a living. And anytime anybody would come by and say, hey, I don't have enough to buy a plate, she said, don't worry about it. You get it the next time. That was my upbringing in New York City. Really, really beautiful household with my grandparents. Learned a lot. Throughout my career, I just started learning and loving about how do I help people. And I got into the medical field and went to school to be a hospital administrator. And because I did an internship at a nursing home, and I said, we got to treat people better than this. And I went to Monroe College in New York City, graduated with my bachelor's degree in health services. And then I decided to go to Florida. And the reason I went over there, because my aunt was like, New York City is not your life. Try something new. Get out of the barrio. And I went to Florida. And that's when I was introduced to education. And I said, wait a minute. I can actually help the youth by working in the school. And I always like to tell people that I got into education by accident because I was applying to stay in the health field. And I saw a job listing and they said, hey, we're looking for a recreation person on the weekend. I went in, did the interview, and hours later they said, hey, we know you came in for a part-time, but would you consider being a residential dean? And that was essentially in charge of 60 high school students and 10 staff members, and making sure that their well-being are taken care of in the school setting. And from that, since the early 2000s, I've been working in education from administrator, advisor, supporter, friend, parent, right? Local parentis, helping students, reach the biggest potential there is.
That's amazing. Along the way through your educational process, I mean, were your parents educated? Was your grandmother educated? I know that she was a philanthropist, but how does somebody, again, from your community, from the Bronx, who had Latino background and no education, all of a sudden you get all this education? were you also inspired by high school teachers, college professors? What got you to this point where, your eyes were really aware of all the need that was going around you, and that you were willing to take a step back and really go into this type of industries where you were really helping people?
Yeah, my story is I always like to jokingly tell people I only went to school because it gave me a place to live.
Hmm.
And that's, my grandmother passed away when I was 16. She didn't have formal education, but she knew how to network. She knew how to network with people. And that's the one thing that I learned about her. In fact, in her funeral, there was a line around the block, and there were police officers, judges, lawyers, community activists, all walks of life. And people, even my father was like, how does she know all these people? And I said, because the same people she were helping on the street, the same person who didn't have enough money to eat, that person, because she helped him, inspired that individual. They later on became successful, came back and said, hey, your grandmother helped me when I was young, when I was a little boy getting in trouble on the streets. She kept me out of the streets. And I remember that growing up. So even though they didn't have formal education, my grandparents, they only graduated high school, but they were smart in so many other ways. They knew the human connection of caring and loving each other. That's the only way you're going to make it in life. And in high school, I failed my freshman year. I failed PE. That's, who fails PE? So instead of playing basketball, I was in the corner, just chit chatting.
Yeah.
And one of my teachers, homeroom teachers, she pulled me to the side after a parent conference. My grandfather stepped out of the room, and she said, listen, now that your grandfather's out of the room, I'm going to tell you this once. She shared a couple of words with me I can't say, but she said essentially, you messed up your freshman year. You're not going to mess up again. I'm not going to let you mess up. And that stayed with me. One, because she cared. She took the time to care for me, but also she put the fear in God with me. Right. But from that, I said, no, if someone actually believes in me, I'm not going to let them down. So this is just my way of giving back. Someone was there for me, and I always give credit to her because she didn't give up on me. And in return, the work that I do now, I'm not going to give up on the community.
Yeah, we have similar backgrounds. I mean, I think that I do everything that people that know me do from my abuelita as well. That's amazing. So then you're in Florida. What brings you to Santa Ana, California, and how do you get to High Schools Inc., Academies Foundation? And then tell us also, what are you doing there, and how are you changing that community? But also, I'm giving you a lot of questions at one time, right?
Yeah, no worries.
I just thought about, also share with me also, when you talk about the High Schools Inc., a little bit about Valley High in Santa Ana and how they were almost ready to shut that school down and why, and then how the community rallied around that high school.
Well, after Florida, when I went to graduate school, got a master's in management. I wanted to continue my education. Again, my aunt, who was like, well, if you did your bachelor's, might as well do your master's. So I did my master's, and then she's like, well, if you did your master's, you might as well get your PhD. And then I was on my PhD program, then I stopped because I was accumulating a lot of college debt.
Right.
And I said, oh, no, I prefer to say I'm a PhD dropout than a high school dropout.
Okay, there you go.
Right. So from there, I decided to take a break, and I say, okay, what are sort of like soul searching, like what is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? So I actually resigned from that job. And I took a trip to Colorado. My cousin lived over there. And I actually went 6 months of deciding what I want to do with my life. Do I want to continue this path or do something different? And because of my background of starting programs from scratch, they recruited me to New York City. Started a brand new private school, preparatory school, boarding school in New York City. And then from that, because of my background of working with programs and, starting things from scratch, they recruited me to California. I was actually tricked. They say, come to California. And if you tell a New Yorker, come to California, we're thinking Hollywood. You're going to walk down the street. You're going to say, oh, hey, Brad Pitt. Right. But the first city I went to was Fresno. And I worked in Fresno for a couple of years. And then from there, I went to San Luis Obispo for a couple of years, all working in education, from being a recruiter, marketing, admissions, and so forth. And I saw an opportunity later on to work in Santa Ana specifically. And I heard about this organization, a nonprofit organization that helps high school students with college and career readiness. And then I found out the demographics they work in. And I said, well, you know what? I could relate to so many students being in a Latino community, not having much. And I said, I really got to go back to my roots. I got to go back to helping people who were like me, to show them that it's possible. I was once in your shoes. It's possible. Look at me. Let me help you get there. So I came across High School Inc. In working in this space. And High School Inc. At its core, what they do, it's truly to their mission. High School Inc. empowers youth, strengthen the communities to business and education partnerships. That is what they do. They make sure that whatever the students are learning in the classroom is exactly what they need outside of the classroom. So they basically changing the mindset of students that even though you're dealt with these cards, doesn't mean you have to settle for those cards. You can actually change your life. And we're changing the way we look at education from your traditional go to school straight to college, where go to school, explore what avenues you want to pursue. If you want to go straight to college, that's wonderful. We'll show you how to get there. If you want to pursue and go straight into the workforce, we'll show you how to get there as well. So we're preventing them from making mistakes like I did, going to college, exploring, accumulating a lot of debt, not knowing what to do, to now making better informed decisions by the time they reach their senior year.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, thoughtful process that I think is going to make tremendous change. Now, let's take a step back and let's talk about the community of Santa Ana, because people are listening to this nationwide, right? It's one of the most densely Spanish-speaking populations in the United States. Tell us a little bit about the history of Valley High, and then kind of how High Schools Inc. Came in to help that school. But I want to know a little bit of the background, and then tell us a little bit about the families there and the kids that are there, the more socio-demographic kind of issues that they've got to deal with in that community.
Yeah. So High School Inc. was born more than 16 years ago. There was a crisis in Santa Ana. Students were either graduating without the skill sets they need to get employed, or they were not graduating at all. So you had a mixture of graduating with no skills to get employed, or not graduating at all. So the Santa Ana Chamber of Commerce said, we have to help our business community. The business community is suffering. They can't find employees that have the skills that they need to be successful or for their business to be profitable. So they got together and said, what if we work with the school district? And they said, well, what would that look like? Well, let's work with the teachers, work with the administrators, and almost say, hey, we can almost guarantee that if you listen to us, they'll have exactly the tools they need to be successful by the time they graduate. So High School Inc. was born, where a partnership, a MOU was in place, where you have High School Inc. as a nonprofit, you have SAUSD, right, Santa Ana Unified School District, and you have the Santa Ana Chamber of Commerce. So allow us to partner with you. And how that looks like is Valley High School, they chose that high school because at the time, years ago, it was a high school that had a reputation of a lot of negative things happening. Students weren't graduating. It was a school that you wouldn't send your kids there. So they say, well, let's pick that high school.
90% Latino, I think?
90% of students are identified as Latino, anywhere from Mexico to Latin America region. And they picked that high school because it was about to be taken over by the state. And what that translates to, whenever you hear a school is about to be taken over by the state, that means that school is underperforming. Their students are not graduating. Essentially, they're saying, you guys are not doing your thing. Right? The teachers and the administrators are not really performing where they need to be performing with the students. So they chose Valley High School. And they started with one academy, because our academy model is you have to really increase student achievement if you want the outcome to be more positive. And what I mean by that is students are not going to go to school just because they have to go to school. They have to be motivated. They have to see a purpose. And what High School Inc. does behind the scenes is increase that student achievement. Motivate them. How do we do that? We say, hey, school is awesome, is amazing. Imagine going to school and you're able to meet professionals that you're interested in becoming. Like if, our business academy, when they started, they had about 30 to 90 students that first year. They just picture this. If I could paint a picture, business academy students. I love business. I want to be an entrepreneur. Wouldn't it be amazing if you get to meet entrepreneurs? Wouldn't it be amazing you get to see entrepreneurs in their work settings? Wouldn't it be amazing you can have field trips to see what they do, how they do it? So we did that across all the academies. So more than 16 years ago, from Business Academy grew to 6 academies. Because at that time, Santa Ana Chamber of Commerce said, well, what industries are really growing? Need growth. And Dr. Wallace Warrod from the Orange County Business Council. He did research for us, and he identified 6 industries. And if you look at the letter of each industry that we have, which turn into academies, it spells the word change: culinary, healthcare, automotive, new media, global business, and engineering. And under culinary, you have hospitality; under engineering, computer science. And that's how the 6 academies were born at Valley.
Now, what happens is that when the kids coming in, I think from junior high, right, or middle school, they actually kind of have to, they don't have to, but they normally will select a career path, an academy path, correct, of what they're most interested. And then they have the opportunity to change that path, right, if there's something that interests them more. So you talked about the culinary one, for example. I've taken a tour of the school, by the way. It is the most amazing place you'll ever see. I sent my kids to some of the best schools in Irvine, and I'm thinking, man, I blew it. I could have sent them here to Santa Ana, and nobody wants to send the kids to Santa Ana. And then you realize what an opportunity for the kids to get some of the best training in the world, I think. The automotive also. Let me just give you just a visual. I show up and I'm thinking culinary. Well, what does that mean? They're going to have a little kitchen with some electric, stoves and some pots. They have a kitchen and a whole better than any restaurant you've seen in Orange County. How much money was invested just in that kitchen that they have there? We're talking, I don't know how many thousands of square feet you have there just for the culinary section. But like with $1 million or $2 million, I don't know how much money. I mean, some of the best cooking tools in the country are there right now.
Yeah, a lot of funds went into that through the school district. It was actually one of 2 projects. It was a culinary facility and the automotive facility. I want to say in total it's probably up north of $18 million because they build the facility from ground up. So it is amazing what we have over there.
It is. I mean, and again, the other one is like, for example, the automotive. I'm thinking I'm going to go, and they're working on a couple of cars, like, where I grew up in East LA, right? They've got the cars open and they're working on them with a few tools. You walk in there, your jaw drops. It's bigger than I think any Mercedes dealership where they're fixing the cars. They're working on, cars that are sometimes $100,000 or more. You got these young, 16-year-old, 17-year-old students with some of the best tools. And I heard that even that there are other dealerships that sometimes need special tools that they come and ask you for those tools to borrow them. And again, a few $1 million also invested in that, right? So the kids who are interested in that profession that are now highly skilled, high-paying jobs coming out of high school, are getting the best training, and it's not in college, it's not at a tech school, it's at Valley High.
Yeah, Valley High School, and that's one of the high schools that we work with. So this piggyback off what you just said, a student comes in freshman year, culinary. I'm passionate about culinary. Santa Ana Unified School District has pathway programs. They have over 50 of them. And at Valley High School, we have 6 pathway programs, the academies that they can choose of that high school comes up with. Freshman year, culinary student comes in. They take their regular high school experience like everybody else. They have social studies, mathematics, but then they take culinary 101, culinary 102, and their sophomore, culinary 103, right? As they move over, sequential courses of CTE, the career technical education. We always like to say they get 3 layers of support. So that first layer of support is the sequential courses of CTE. The second layer of support is the academy model. You have thousands of students who attend a high school. How do you make sure that they don't fall through the cracks? So that second layer of support is we take 2,000 students and we move them together in cohorts. That's the academy model. So you have about 250 culinary students. Freshman year, they move together sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. The same classes, same students, same familiar faces, same teachers. So every year they look forward to meeting their friends. It's sort of like a school within a school, the small learning communities. And then that third layer of support is the nonprofit of High School Inc., our business partnership. So that student who's interested in culinary, you mentioned about the facilities. Those facilities was built with High School Inc.'s input. Our business partners came in and said, these are the refrigerators you should purchase. These are the utensils you should purchase. The same thing with auto. This is the brand you should buy. Snap-on is industry standards. These are the lifts. These are the alignment machines you should purchase. everything that was built was because our business partners gave their expertise. And that's how we make sure that what they're learning in the classroom is exactly what they need outside of the classroom.
State of the art.
Yes.
State of the art, brand new stuff, not stuff that you learn in the school that's so antiquated that it's not even, you can't use when you come out, right? When you graduate. So share with me, if you can, any empowering stories of any students that have come out from these communities that have been transformed and changed and graduated and maybe found jobs and maybe come back to you. Well, you're relatively new there as well, right? A couple of years, but maybe some alumni that have come back and shared their stories to the kids of how much success they've received from going through the program, through the academies.
Yes. So there's two stories that come to mind. Is one story is about a young lady who started in the dental program. She was exposed to the dental program, loved everything about it. She did a dental internship. After the dental internship, she graduated and started working in a dental office. She was so inspired to continue the field of healthcare, and particularly in dental, that she said, well, I want to go back and maybe become a dentist. So she went to Mexico. This was a student who first year came to America. She joined the Welcome Academy at Valley. Welcome Academy is for first-time English learners. And she didn't know much English and started learning and developing. She graduated, got inspired to be a dentist. She went back to Mexico, one of the top dental universities there is, and she became a doctor. She came back to the United States. She reached out to high school and she said, I thank you for everything you've given me, the exposure you have given me. I'm just one exam away from being a licensed dentist to practice in the U.S. Is this something that you can help us with? And that's what one of the things that High School Inc. does. We don't only stop, we don't stop when you graduate. We continue that support even after you graduate. We have an alumni association. She reached out to us. She said, could you help me with this exam? We said, absolutely. So we cover her expenses for her to take the exam.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other young lady, she went to the same career path, healthcare, did an internship at CHOC, the Children's Hospital of Orange County. From there, she was inspired. She continued to be a medical assistant. A couple of years later, she said, I want to do better than this. I want to keep going up. She actually became a registered nurse a couple of years ago. And all because of the exposure she got of High School Inc., bringing her into the business community, having those internships, those field trips to get, exposed to the industry of choice.
Yeah, they go from making, registered nurse. We will do, one of our businesses would do tax returns for the Latino community as well. And those registered nurses are making over six figures, easily over six figures, right? And dentists, what do I need to tell you? They're making, high six figures. What does the program still need? Because I know that you guys are transformative, and I've seen that other parts of the academy, I think it was the media one, that they're now still they're using more antiquated computers. They need help there. What areas of the academy right now need a little bit more support and need more little attention? And I will share with you that if you're watching this or if you're listening to us on the podcast, and if you're interested, and then Felix will give you the information on how to get a hold of them. If you want to, if you would love to participate and donate money and help out for your professional, even if just help out as a mentor as well, reach out to him and have him give you a tour of the school, because it's not about what you hear him say. It's about what you actually see what's going on, and it will inspire you. It will give you goosebumps. I'm telling you, I've done the tour twice now. And it is just amazing that we can't do this more in other underserved communities. And I want to make sure that Felix gets that proper support. So when you reach out to him, ask him, give me a tour of the school. If you're not close by, fly in and see him. Because again, I'm guaranteeing you that if people are always concerned about when they're donating money is like, how much of their money is going to the program? What is it really doing? What kind of support if I give, but what are the results of that money that I'm donating, right? And I will share with you that you will seriously get goosebumps as to what your money can do to help other people in need and a community in need, and how the positive results are coming from that program. What else what else right now of your 6 academies need a little bit more support, need a little more attention? And then how can people help out besides donating money to High Schools Inc.?
I also want to notate that, when you look at the success of High School Inc., 16, 17 years ago, Valley High School had a graduation rate of the low 60%. But now they have well over 95% a graduation rate.
That's
That is
amazing.
the success of having all of the support from the community and being connected to business partner. While donations are great and we utilize those donations to help students with certifications and internships and so forth, we also look for people who are willing to open their office, allow our students to go there and job shadow, allow our students to maybe do an internship, allow our students to go to your company and explore manufacturing company, hospitals, everything from the culinary field to the engineering field. We look for those opportunities for our students, a foot in the door so they can get exposed to those industries.
Absolutely.
We always are looking for mentors as well. It's great to have students to speak to industry professionals, to get inspired by your story, to learn from you, to be able to ask you questions. We're always looking for people to donate to the particular academies, like new media. You mentioned about the equipment that could be upgraded. Absolutely, there's always a need in many different areas in our academies, from equipment to just supporting the teachers in providing the students, those opportunities to be connected more to the industry.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. So now back to you and the experience and everything. You have tremendous and wonderful experience you've brought to High Schools Inc. Academy Foundation, but what have you learned since you've been there? What's working? What's not working? Because again, most of the people that are listening to us were going to be other executive directors, people who are running organizations in the similar vein, who will learn from you as well. I'm sure we're going to get them on, and they're going to be sharing their stories. Tell us, as you've come into this community, what's working, what's not working, and what do you think can be done better? Whether it's the mindset of that community, whether it's the mindset of the schools, what can be done better, and just share the stories.
Oh, absolutely. What's working is the collaborations. When we collaborate with other organizations, I encourage other organizations to reach out to us. There's many ways that we can collaborate, utilize our resources. We all work in the same space in some capacity. All right. We're always wanting to give back. That's working really well. What's not working too well, but could be better, is how do we communicate all of these resources to the parents, to the students? Because they don't always realize that there's help out there. And culturally, right, especially with my family, culturally, Latinos are like, well, are they willing to help us? Are they, do they care about us? Absolutely. And I think, not just for the Latino community, but for any cultural background, there's always this stigma of like, well, if they don't look like us, maybe they don't care about us. And that's not true. And with High School Inc., we expose our students we actually bring them to a lot of philanthropy events and so forth to show them that there's people in the community willing to help, and they don't always need to look like you. Mm-hmm. But also in saying that it's really, how do we get these resources to parents and they understand that that there's resources out there? They're here to help you, and we can help you in many ways, from like getting you resources to clothes, to food, to education, to workshops, and it's for free and it doesn't cost you anything. There's a lot of money out there and resources to help in many ways. So I think that area we can do better. How do we convey that message and get it out to the community? Because I think a lot of times they don't realize there's a lot more help than they think.
Yeah. That's so true. I think the problem is that there's always help, right? But you have to look for it, and you have to ask for help also. And at some point when you're asking for help, people will figure out a way to help you. They'll find somebody. Like, people will contact me for things that I cannot help them with, but I know someone who can help them with, and then we just keep pointing them to the right direction. Yeah. So any epiphanies, any life learning lessons you personally have had, not for the organization, as you've grown into this role of helping these communities out, or helping these parents out, helping these students out? I always tell people that my story was when I was working in Newport Beach, California, with these really super wealthy people. I went back to the Bay to help the community, even though I saw most people in need. My epiphany was, oh, shoot. There are some people who are not ready to be helped, or who don't want to be helped as much as I can help them, right? That was my epiphany. But any epiphanies you've had, through your life working journey here?
Yes. There was one particular day I was walking through a classroom, and I saw a lot of clothes just scattered all around the room. And I didn't know what that was. And I was like, what's going on here? Or these are clothes for kids who don't have clothes. And that hit me. that hit me really deep. I even get, a little choked up now because, I thought that I had a rough upbringing, but as the saying goes, there's always someone who has a even worse situation than you. And when I saw that, I said, there's need not only through great instructional resources, but also the basics. Having clothes, having hygiene products, things like that. That really struck me because we don't think even deeper than that. When we say, hey, how come kids are not getting jobs? Maybe they don't have the clothes to go on those interviews. Why are kids, getting in trouble or not open? I always like to tell parents and well, my administrators is that when I was a dean of students and I dealt with a lot of behavioral issues, I have a philosophy. Students don't wake up one day and say, how am I going to get in trouble? They don't do that. The reason they get in trouble and the reason they do things they're not supposed to is because they're misguided. They're misunderstood. And I think the more we get involved with them and the more we guide them intentionally and we show up and we're supportive, they're going to feel that love. At the end of the day, you can change anybody's life if you really show and genuinely show them that you care and that you love them. And then you have to be passionate in the work you do. And that's why I do what I do now. And you can hear it in my voice. I'm very passionate about helping the community because, again, I go back to my roots. That one teacher didn't let me down. I to this day, I think if she would have never talked to me the way she talked to me, and I'm not encouraging people to use, wrong things. But what I'm saying is, if you're here to help the community, be genuine, be kind, and remember you was once young like them. And if you're successful, like one of the 5 focus of High School Inc. is entrepreneurship and leadership. And I love that one area because we teach students when you do grow up and you do make it, it's about remembering to look back because there's somebody behind you and you got to help the next person up. So that was my epiphany moment where I realized there's a lot of work to be done. Even the most smallest things that you think is not making a difference, it truly is. A hello, a thank you. Hey, this is not much, but hopefully somebody can use this. Those little things do go a long way.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I find that most people that are doing the work that we're doing, it's not their occupation, but their occupation, as I like to say. And I can hear definitely the passion. And I'm so grateful that Valley High and High Schools Inc. was able to attract you. I always believe in a higher vibrational energy that's how we attract people, and that's what attracted you here. I've met some of the students; they love you to death. They've said wonderful things about you. They also say that you don't let them get away with stuff either, and so that's fantastic. Anything else that you can share with our audience that is watching us today or listening to us today on, other lessons or maybe things you would have done differently when you started? Because again, sometimes we go on our career path and then we make mistakes and then we have to find our way back. Would you have done anything differently or everything worked out the way it's supposed to work out?
It's go with the saying there's always room for improvement. I think I could have listened more.
Okay.
I think listen more along the way. As some people might tell me now, like my best friend told me the other day, she was like, you don't listen to everything that I'm telling you. And I think listen more and be more observant and reading between the lines and hearing between the lines.
Wonderful.
When you ask somebody, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm okay.
We're not listening to them, but if you really pay attention, just by how their behavior is, right? Their energy level as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just listening and hearing between the lines can really make the difference. Because I go back, you never know that one hello, that one handshake. You don't know what they're going through. You can't read minds, right? So you could really change a person's life just by one little small gesture. But I also wanted to say that, High School Inc. is not only at Valley. This year, we just expanded to Century High School.
Right.
We're helping their biomedical science pathway program. Next year, we're going to be helping their e-business academy. And then the following year, their esports pathway program. We also, we're involved with Magnolia High School with Magnolia Agri-Science Community Center, which is the Mac Farm. If you've ever been out there, if you haven't, you should go. It's a 2.5 acre farm. It's amazing. Rejuvenative farm. It's a sight to see, and we're teaching the community what to do with a zucchini. I don't know, right? Nutritional
It goes
value.
from there, it goes to the culinary.
Yeah,
To cook at the culinary center.
but those are the things that we're doing within the community. So not just the academics, but also about nutrition as well. And that's what we're doing at the Mac Farm. High School Inc. is helping in that regard. Really, one of many ways of addressing the food insecurity in Anaheim community. But
Are there any other people or any other organizations that come down and visit you or looking at what you guys are doing, and have you basically created a transformation in this community? I mean, because it seems like um, other cities going through similar socioeconomic issues could learn a lot from what you guys have learned and how you guys are implementing and executing a lot on the needs for these communities.
The number one thing that you will always hear when it comes to nonprofit organization is capacity. We always get inquiries about, we love what you do. How can we get what you're doing at our high school? In another school district, in another state. And we always say, we will love to do that. So talk about, giving more resources is being able to do those things. So if we have more funding, if we have more capacity, we will love to expand to other high schools more rapidly, because we get that question all the time. Your program should have been something that we should have had 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So we do have plans to continue the great work. As I mentioned, we just started this year expanding to Century High School in Santa Ana. Our goal, I have a vision. My vision is, imagine one day you're driving by a high school, and in front of that high school, it says, this is a certified High School Inc. school. And what that translates to is, we make sure that students are successful, motivated, increase their student achievement, because in order for them to be career and work ready, right, they have to be achievement ready. They have to be wanting to be motivated and wanting to be inspired in order to achieve more in their life. And that's what High School Inc. does.
Yeah. So was the original problem then that maybe, we're hearing today about the news actually today is that they're trying to get rid of our educational system, the government system, right? And is it that the school districts don't have enough funding and they needed, for example, the Santa Ana Chamber of Commerce to get involved, and they needed this nonprofit that was created to raise funds also to create these programs? Was it prior to that the school districts just didn't have enough funds or capacity, or I don't know what? Because why was the school not achieving until we saw people from the outside saying, you know what, I really give a shit about this, and we're going to do something about it. And we're not going to let this school fail. We're going to let this community fail. What do you think it is? What do you personally think it is?
I personally think that when I used to do recruiting, right, I used to work in private schools doing recruiting. Everyone says they have a great school. Everyone says they have great teachers. Everyone says they have great classes. Everyone says that. I say there's a saying by Maya Angelou. If you heard of it, you tend to forget what people said or did, but you always remember how they made you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is the ingredient. That is the missing ingredient. People who show up to work every day and they're passionate and they love what they do is because they feel they're part of something big. They feel they're part of a team. Students who show up to school every day, they feel that they're accepted, they loved, they feel like they're going to get somewhere. And if you don't give more momentum to that, to making sure that they feel a certain way, they're not going to be interested. They're going to be less motivated. So High School Inc. knew that was the missing ingredient, is increasing that student achievement. So we knew that one-offs weren't impossible. One-off meaning it's not enough for a career professional to come in, do a presentation at a class. You have to do more than that. How do you inspire students? The internships, the competitions, the site visits, the one-on-one mentorships. That's what's really going to keep a student motivated. When they see they're getting all of these resources, wow, they care about me. I feel value. And when you feel value, you will succeed. And that's the missing ingredient. So I think the reason for them not performing well is because they haven't mastered how do you make sure that these students are feeling loved and they're feeling cared for and they feel that they have a purpose.
Do you, with all the wonderful work and the transformation you guys have done at that school, do you feel like it also not only affects the students, but also affects the staff, the teachers that are there? Do you attract now people or teachers at a higher caliber who care more, who say, I want to come to this school or look for opportunities there? What's going on in the schools with the teachers and the staff there?
I think there's a lot of it goes back to when we say nonprofit is always about capacity. In the school system is the same thing. There's a lot of passionate teachers, a lot of passionate staff members, administrators. They really do care about the kids, but the capacity can only take them for so long, right? Sometimes the teachers, like I know there's value in giving students resume workshops and public speaking workshops, but I don't have the capacity. That's why High School Inc. was born. It's to fill in those gaps. The capacity barrier, we're breaking it. Wherever you need help, we're going to be there. And that's what we're doing. We're amplifying the student experience. So where the school district reaches a certain point, we're stepping in there and say, hey, we're going to add more additional help because we know that additional help is going to make a difference in those kids' lives.
Yeah, that's amazing. Listen, in closing, again, I can't help but think as I hear you speak is how much knowledge, wisdom, and expertise you have, and you're so young still. And I can only imagine 5-10 years from now where you're going to be. I assume probably at a higher national level than here. I would assume at that point, because I can feel your energy. I can see when I got into the school the reverence that they have for you as well. What's next for you? What things are you doing, and what things have you not done that in your personal vision statement that you see doing in the future? What would you like to do that you haven't been able to do yet?
I would like to continue to spread the message that kids need help. They need someone to believe in them. When we talk about shaping the future, we have to shape the today in order to have a better future. So I would like to continue to expand High School Inc.'s model to other high schools. I would like to continue to get more collaborations from other organizations. I mentioned about students not having clothes, sometimes for an interview or so forth. There are many organizations out there, like Working Wardrobe is one of them that helps in that regard. So more collaborations, more unity, more community, in order to change this thing around. And, to have a better future, we have to start today.
That's phenomenal. Tell everyone how they can find you, get a hold of you, set up, a tour of the school with you, donate money. Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say, don't take my word for it. Please come out to a High School Inc. academies. We're more than happy to show you. You can go to our website, highschoolinc.org. You can reach me directly at Felix, Felix, at highschoolinc.org. Please reach out to us. I would say I could give you my number, but I don't want to.
No, we'll put a link on, right? It'll link on there. We're going to be putting a link on the podcast.
I do have an office number. I can give you that. It's 714-241-6592. You can reach me directly. My office number, 714-241-6592, or go on our website, www.highschooling.org. We'll love to give you a tour, show you the same tour that Luis got an opportunity to see, and you have an opportunity to speak to the students and see everything firsthand.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I live in Orange County, California, and for about probably 30 years, I've passed by in Laguna Beach a place called Pageant of the Masters. And it is this show that they put on that is almost indescribable. And I always say, before you die, you must see Pageant of the Masters, and look it up and Google it. Don't have time here to explain what it is. I will share with you the same thing, is that when I'm talking to people, I just had somebody who called me and says, hey, I'd love to donate to the school. I said, I don't want you to donate yet. I said, schedule a time to meet with Felix to give you a tour of the school. Because it's not just about giving money. It's about really seeing how your money is being used, and the results that is going on in that school. It's unbelievable. Going from a 60% something dropout rate to a 95% graduation rate is amazing. And so please schedule a time to see Felix if you can. If you're close by, drive in. Yes, you were going to say something.
I was just gonna add thank you for that, but I was also gonna mention there's different avenues to give and help high schooling.
Okay.
We're doing the Future is Working campaign with the Orange County Community Foundation. It's 21 different organizations. One cause is happening on April 3rd. You'll find that information on our website. And also we're doing our annual fundraiser, which is the 7th annual Give Gratitude, which we're having at the Delhi Community Center in Santa Ana. If you're wanting to come to that event and hear and really see what high schooling is all about, May 8th is a Thursday night, May 8th at the Delhi Community Center. We have information about that fundraiser on our website, and as well as the Future is Working campaign on April 3rd on our website as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all of that. And I'm going to share with you today that Wealth Gap Warriors will be writing a check to High Schools Inc. for $500.
Thank you.
As well. Parting thoughts, something I always ask, our guests, any books that you've read, any resources for people who are in this genre, who are working in anything that's inspired you recently?
I always refer to a book that I read years ago in business school, and I refer to it every so often. In order for anyone to have a great organization, they have to have a healthy organization. There's a great book written by Patrick Lencioni. Is a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. He also wrote The Advantage, and he came out with the pyramid.
It's all about trust,
and it's all about trust. Mm-hmm. And for me, any change you make in life is based on trust. And if you want the community to believe in you, you have to build that foundation. So that's one book. I read it years ago, but I always refer to it. I share it with my team as well.
So do I,
because it's truly, I believe it. I live and breathe it. And I solely believe in the outcome if you follow it directly.
Fantastic. Felix,
thank you.
Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate this. It won't be the last time you'll be here. I want to be sharing the wonderful stories that are coming out of your organization. So thank you very much. And thank you everybody for listening to us, and we'll see you next time.